Good morning. Good morning, Pierre. Good morning, Archie, and good morning, Stan. And welcome to the crypto hour for this morning. Duncan is not with us yet, as he's busy in another meeting. So we'll start the meeting on our own. Excuse me, sir, if I'm a little bit distracted sometimes. I have to do both the talking and the managing of the meeting. Good morning, Simone. But what we'll do, just let me run through the usual way that the meeting goes. I will go through first of all, I'll go through a few items of informational news, things that have gone on in this past week, that I think are relevant and it's important to talk about. So that will take probably 15-20 minutes, and then we'll open the room up to questions. So you can raise questions, talk about things that are relevant to you at this moment in time, as we all come to crypto from different experience, and we are at a different level of our education. So we might be interested in different subjects. So let's start straight away. First of all, I just wanted to make sure that you can hear me properly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, fantastic. For those of you, I've started streaming these crypto hours live in our circle as well. So it is possible to view it on the Crypto Investor Club circle. But obviously, if you want to ask questions and participate live, then you're in the right place here. Okay, and there's kind of three large bits of information I think it's important to talk about this morning. Obviously, a lot of people will have asked me, and I've noticed the large price drop that we've had in crypto this week, and we have gone below the $30,000 level for Bitcoin, which was important on two different factors. From a price point of view, any round number has got that psychological effect. So especially when we come to kind of like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, and so on. And that's on one point. And on the other level, also 30,000 was the price point at which the drop in price stopped, when it went down from all the way from 64,000. So recently there was there were some buying orders at that price, because obviously the market deemed that it was a good price to buy at. So it's it's everybody, after something like this happens, rush through and saying this happened because of this particular event or that particular event. The truth is that nobody knows exactly what gets the market to react in a particular way, but we can try and understand the reasons behind it. What we can do, though, and as a investor or as a trader, if you trade cryptocurrencies, it's important to be objective and start reading the charts for what they can tell us, not to try and put our own mind and kind of give it a reason that may not be there, but just read the price and see what happened. And what happened this time is that the price. Let me just share the screen, because this I think it's important. Duncan, good morning. Can I make you? Let me just first of all change the screen options. Can share all participants. Okay, then I'll make you host, Duncan, so at least I can carry on sharing my screen.
Thank you. Yes, let me be the gatekeeper. And also, Luca, would you drop me your YouTube link, and I will get things streaming live. Apologies to everybody for my lateness.
Yep, let me just I'll send you the link in the chat.
Thank you. I mean, it's not like a lot's happened in cryptos this week, is it, Luca?
No, just a couple of things. So I've already posted it on the Crypto Investor Club. Okay, so it's already live on there. Okay, so the first thing, just I wanted to let me share my screen, and I wanted to show you, you know, what happened in the charts. Okay. This is a chart of Bitcoin against US dollar. I mean, this is against Tether, which is a digital form of US dollar. Okay. So what I wanted you to have a look at, if we go to this point here, which is where the down movement starts. Okay, this is a 15-minute chart. So it is quite, we can see what happened in the short term. Okay. So we have a look here at the origin of this move is 8:45 on the 22nd of June, okay, which is the pretty much the start of the London session, okay, and you can see here we reach this other point, which is the bottom, okay, and have a look at that is 14:45 in London terms, 14:30, which is the start of the New York session, okay, so it is basically we have this this huge price drop during the London session, and then we have this huge recovery that brought us back to where we started during the New York session. Okay, now also have a look at this graph just below, okay, which is the volume graph, and you can see how as the price touched the 30,000 level, you can see this huge candle in volume. This is massive. Okay, 10,000 Bitcoins traded in this 15-minute candle, and the same on the one before. I mean, it is really massive volume. So what the chart is telling us is that there was this concerted movement down for whatever reason, and we'll discuss that in a minute. And we've seen before that this white line, which is the around 30,000 level, is where the price stopped before. So it was a significant resistance support level. Let's put it that way. So what a lot of short-term traders would have done, they're betting, traders that were betting on Bitcoin price to go up, they would have put their stop loss below this line. Okay. So what happens is that when the price eventually broke this level, there were a lot of stop loss being triggered, and from a excuse me, from a neutral point of view, what that means is that a stop loss, when it's triggered, becomes a sell order in this case. Okay, and so accelerates the movement down. But if you were watching, I don't know if you were watching the prices or not when this happened. I was, and I was almost like being at the movies. And especially being on Binance, which is the the biggest exchange in terms of volume, you can see a huge amount of transactions going through in a very short amount of time. And you can see here on the right hand side, you can see live the number of transactions that are being closed every second. And in that moment, now. Now we have, it's fairly active, but not too much. At that time it was just like hundreds of transactions per second. So the one thing that we can say objectively is that although sell orders were being triggered here, we can see that the price stopped and started going back up. So that means that as a market, the market decided that the bottom here, which is about 28, what was that? Sorry, it's 28,800. The market deemed that Bitcoin was cheap at that price. Okay, and so people started buying. And what we can see from the on-chain metrics is that long-term holders of Bitcoin added to their positions. So these are people that mainly we can see traffic one way into their wallet. So they just mainly accumulate Bitcoins. They don't hardly ever sell it. And so they still add in at this price because they're thinking that it is a bargain price. So that doesn't mean that now we're out of the woods and that the price will start going up. We're just simply taking notice that at this price point there were lots of buyers, there were lots of sellers when we broke the 30,000 level. And I was worried at that time that we go all the way down from 30,000 to 20,000, which was the 2017 top. Now, this is a kind of like it's a good sign for both Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency market, because it means that there is a strong base, and there are strong positions, people that are ready to put their money where their mouth is, and buy at these prices because they think that the value is a lot higher than this. Okay, and and this is as a price point is 50% higher than the highest price Bitcoin has ever been before 2020. So in 2007, the 2017 top. So it is worth noting. Now let me stop sharing that, and let's just talk about something else. Now the reason of why that kind of like short time drop in prices happened, a lot of people attributed to the news coming from China. Okay, but I have seen a lot of misreporting of this news. Even in I'm talking about, guys, we need to be careful here as investors, because we see these things, this rubbish being thrown in by CNBC, by Bloomberg, and people that got millions of viewers that really don't know what they're talking about, and they start talking rubbish on primetime television. Now, the one thing to understand is that China obviously banned Bitcoin mining, but not only that, they also are trying to stop banks interacting with anybody that's dealing in cryptocurrency. So it's making it very difficult, for example, for cryptocurrency exchanges, for businesses that are trying to use Bitcoin to actual deal in Bitcoin. They cannot stop the network because it is decentralized and it's not in one place, so they can stop it. But what they can stop, they can control the gatekeepers. Okay, and this is at the same time as they have launched their own version of their own digital currency, the digital one. Okay, but let's take it into let's split it. One thing is banning the mining, and one thing is banning then the people interacting with cryptocurrency, basically through the crypto exchanges and other ways. Okay, banning mining, what does that mean? So I've heard, and this is kind of the reporting that I've heard. I think, well, if they stop Bitcoin, that means that there's less Bitcoin being mined, so the price should be going up. This is completely wrong, because Bitcoin blocks are being created every 10 minutes. Whether China put all their computers on the Bitcoin network or not, one Bitcoin block is being created every 10 minutes. So that doesn't have any effect whatsoever on the number of new Bitcoin being introduced into the system, because every time a block is created, new Bitcoins are being minted and enter the system. Okay, and this is important to understand. Now, how does mining work? And we need to go back to the basics here. The whole mining process in a decentralized system serves just one purpose, which is choosing who has got the right to create the next block. Because think about it, one block holds all the Bitcoin transactions that are written indelibly, in a way that cannot be changed into the blockchain. So the person that has the right to create that block holds an enormous power, because it's saying this is true, these transactions in this block are true, and nothing else is, just what I am writing. So from a network point of view, it is important to have a system that is accepted by everybody, of choosing the single computer that will have the right to create the next block. So there are computers all over the world that compete for that right, and it is pretty much like a lottery. Okay, so the more computers you have, the more hashing power. You hear this word, hashing rate or hashing power, you have connected to the Bitcoin network, the more tickets you have in this lottery. Okay, so the more chances you have of winning the lottery and and being awarded the right to create the next block. And obviously, creating the next block, then you're rewarded by being paid Bitcoins in your wallet. Now, what happens when when all the Bitcoin mining power in China stopped? That means that there were a lot less computers working to secure the Bitcoin network. And that means that all the computers outside of China, all of a sudden, are more competitive because there is less competition. There's less competition for them. Okay, so that means that with the same power that they had yesterday, they could now create more lottery tickets and have more chances of being chosen to create the next block. And so, in a way, in economic terms, it makes it more. They can earn more money by mining Bitcoin because they don't have the competition of China. Okay, and so that encourages at the same time other people to then get into mining Bitcoin because now it is more affordable. Okay, but as a world, as a whole Bitcoin network, it is a positive development, because that was one criticism that was levied at Bitcoin, was that the hashing power was concentrated. A lot of the hashing power concentrated in China. This way, it becomes more distributed and more. It becomes a more decentralized system than it was when China was controlling. So that's one point of view. The other point of view is that obviously now transactions are very difficult in cryptocurrencies in China. That means it's a huge market for cryptocurrencies that is now limited. So the number of transactions going through the systems are limited from that point of view, because people now cannot deal with cryptocurrency exchanges, but the only way they can use cryptocurrencies by going peer-to-peer, because that cannot be stopped. But they can stop the movement in and out of exchanges, and that obviously has an effect on prices, because obviously less transactions going through, less transaction fees, less volume, and so on. So these are the two different movements, and I think this second ban, from the point of view of prices, is more relevant than the crypto mining ban. The other very important news that we already talked about last week was the one about El Salvador adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. And it's important when we consider, now let's take all the technicalities away from it. We're thinking about what difference does it make to the people on the ground. So when you go and buy a coffee, what difference does it make for the retailer? What difference does it make for the person who's buying the coffee, for example, and so on? And the way that they created that system was very clever. First of all, they created parity between Bitcoin and the other legal tender, which is the US dollars. El Salvador doesn't have its own currency. Okay, they use the US dollar. So what they said is that a retailer cannot put different pricing. So much if you use dollars and so much if you use Bitcoin. They can only put one price. And the buyer has the right to decide what they want to use. Okay, so they can pay for something in dollars, or they can pay with Bitcoin. But the seller can receive whatever they want, so they don't have to accept Bitcoin. If they just want to deal with dollars, they just can carry on what they've done without any change whatsoever, because they just push a button on the terminal and they receive US dollars instead of Bitcoin. So if they were charging $5 for something, they can still receive $5. They don't need to get paid in Bitcoin. But the big difference here has made to everybody, and this is important to understand, not just for El Salvador, which is a tiny country, but for a lot of other third world countries, is that 70% of the population in El Salvador doesn't have a bank account. So they don't have access to the financial system. Now, the huge difference this makes is that now they can use their phone as their bank and their wallet at the same time. So when you think about it, a lot of the economy of El Salvador survives for remittances that come from people that are working abroad in the States or somewhere else. And these people send home little amounts of money every week to support their families. So maybe amounts of $50, $100 a week. And the way that has been done so far is through using Western Union or another payment system like that. And it's very, very costly, especially for small amounts. It can absorb as much as 50% of what you are sending as fees. Okay, now using the Bitcoin Lightning Network, which is the technical system that they are using, you can send money in seconds for practically no cost. You know, they're literally they're so small that it's, you know, to be insignificant. And so 70% of the people now have access to, you know, banking, have access to insurance, and all the other services that come with, you know, being part of the financial system. And the way that they've done it also to interact with you, because a lot of people are not maybe technically savvy and they still want to use money. So they introduced in about 1,500 ATM machines in the country where people can go and with their phone and they can exchange the bitcoins for cash. So they can take cash out of the machine simply with their phone. And at the same time, if they want to send money, you know, to a family member that's living somewhere else, they can go to the ATM machine, put cash in, load it on their phone, and 2 minutes later, here we go, the money is transferred over. So this is a huge, huge kind of a historic moment. And this is the first, obviously, El Salvador is pretty insignificant on the world stage. It is only the first country to start this. But already there are talks about it in Paraguay, in Panama, in Nicaragua, in Guatemala, in Tanzania. Different countries in the world are now considering this seriously. And also now that it is a legal tender in one of the countries, it means that other countries that El Salvador deal with have to accept their legal tender as payment, because there are bilateral agreements between these countries that, you know, to accept each other's currency. So it's a very big moment, not just for El Salvador, but for all the other countries that have a huge amount of the population that's excluded for the financial system. And obviously, from the point of view of an investor, switching from considering cryptocurrencies from an asset to a currency makes a huge difference, because it means that you don't have to pay any taxes on the increase in value, because this is not an asset anymore, just a currency. So there are now El Salvador is hoping to attract investments of people wanting to get their residence in El Salvador because of that reason, because then, you know, all of a sudden people there just think about it. If you started investing in Bitcoin when it was hundreds of dollars, and you've got now a big wallet full of Bitcoin, that could make a massive difference to the taxes you have to pay, or you don't have to pay in this case. And they've done a very clever thing, so that if you invest 3 Bitcoin in El Salvador, you can have permanent residency. So it's we'll see in the next few months what effect that will have. On a more typically just crypto news, there are two upgrades that started moving now. One of them is the Ethereum London upgrade, which has now reached the testnet stage. So it is being the London upgrade is the one that will make Ethereum deflationary, right? So it is quite a big deal. It's a different way that they'll use the fees, and with each block that they create, they will burn part of the fees. So that every year there's going to be less Ethereum in circulation than the year before. Okay, so if you hold Ethereum, then it's good news, and it means that, you know, as long as the coin carries on.
Impression that sinkholes are opening up and down the strip, and that other buildings are in.
I've got another feed somewhere. Okay, so what I was saying is that Ethereum will become deflationary. So if you hold coins, there's going to be every year there's going to be less in circulation. So the coins that you hold will become more valuable. Okay, so it's something that started being tested, and it should go live in July. And at the same time, we have the Cardano smart contract stage that has entered the testnet stage. So Cardano does things very, very deliberately, very slowly. So they have like a 3 months process to launch smart contracts from this stage, you know, onto, you know, for the general user. But they do it in stages. So they're now almost terminated the first stage, which is when they send it to a trusted network of developers, and each stage then they release this to a wider number of developers. until it is ready to be released to the general public. And again, once this goes live, it is going to be massive, because Cardano has got a huge community of very engaged users, and they are just waiting for products to be released on Cardano to be able to purchase them, to be able to do the same things that you can do in Ethereum today, but on the Cardano blockchain. So just you wait for, decentralized exchanges, liquidity aggregators and NFTs and all other use cases that you see in other blockchains to come to Cardano. And there's going to be, apps released to deal with all of these cases. So these are two kind of upgrades to really keep an eye on, because they are fairly big in our community. So I've actually gone a bit longer than I wanted to, simply because there was so much to talk about this week. So shall I basically shut up for a minute, and shall we take a few questions? So,
yeah, I've got one question from Eric, and everybody else is kind of holding back, as they like to, keeping their powder dry. Don't want to be the first one to ask the silliest question. So I could start with that, but actually Eric's got quite a good question. So let's start with a good one. I heard about Ethereum 2. So if Ethereum 2 happens, or I don't know, has it happened, what will happen to the original Ethereum?
Okay, at the moment it's going to be Ethereum 2 basically is a switch. At the moment, Ethereum is a proof of work network. And they are going now in tandem. They are deploying the proof of stake network that will transition to. Okay, and this is kind of like a long process, because there is a lot of stuff on Ethereum. So it's not just switching from one to another, but it's also what happens to all the apps that are already built on Ethereum. And so it is a very, very difficult process to handle. So at the moment, it's going to be a period in which the two chains go hand in hand. So they all exist at the same time. So there is one chain that's proof of work, and one chain that's proof of stake. And more Ethereum coins are being staked in the proof of stake network. So eventually, everything will transition onto the proof of stake, and the proof of work will be switched off. So, but your Ethereum will still be valid. So you're not gonna. It's just the way that they create the new block is going to move from a proof of work to a proof of stake. So just by the way, just talking about proof of stake as proof of work without getting technical, the only difference between proof of stake and proof of work is the way that the network selects who has a right to create the next block. Okay, and whether with the proof of work is by using your computational power of your computers, with proof of stake is using the coins that you have in your wallet. So there is an algorithm that decide out of all the Ethereum coin holders, will decide who has the right to create the next block. Then the rest of it is the same. Whether it's proof of work, proof of stake is pretty much the same, but it's choosing the economic agent that has got a right to create the next block. So I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, we don't have any more questions at the moment. So I've got, spoke too soon. Stan's got a question. Luca, do you think Plan B's stock to flow will be validated while we are in the 30K range? Well, I don't understand that question, so I hope you do, Luca.
I mean, there are many different kind of like models. They are used to predict when the price will be. Stock to flow is one of those. But, there's one thing that makes me slightly uncomfortable in all these things, because you're talking about stock to flow, the 4-year model, and so on, the Wyckoff price distribution or accumulation. It's important to understand, guys, that when we're looking at charts, especially charts in the past and indicators, we're always looking at lagging indicators. Okay, so basically what we're doing is examine the past and see if we can get clues from the past to tell us where the price is going in the future. Okay, and this is fine, and it is very, it can be fairly accurate in mature, established markets, on the stock market, on the forex market, and so on. And when we are talking about cryptocurrency, it's very difficult because it's a very small market. It's very volatile. It can still be influenced by a few players. Okay, so if you got a large holder of Bitcoin, for example, that decides all of a sudden to sell his tokens, will have a kind of a significant effect on price. But not just that. If we move from Bitcoin and we go into the wider cryptocurrency industry, this is a very different animal than it was in 2017. So when in 2017, these are, there was Bitcoin, there was being used, Ethereum, that obviously that was being used. Anything else was in the creation stage. So we were talking mainly about speculation and price. Nowadays, it's different because a lot of the new blockchains are proof of stake blockchains. That means that people stake their tokens in the platform to help it validate and to help it function. So if you look at Cardano, for example, or other blockchains like this, they've got 70% plus of their tokens in circulation locked in the blockchain to help it work. So it's a very different attitude because where in a proof of work system, the miner doesn't have any incentive to hold on to their Bitcoin, for example. In a proof of stake system, the holder of the coins has got an incentive in holding on to the coins because they get a reward just by holding the coin, and they receive an interest payment by putting their coins to work for the system. So it is, the things that we are comparing are not quite the same. So when you're looking at a chart, you're looking at price charts in the past or something that has changed in these past 2 or 3 years. So how, you're saying the stock to flow model has proved very accurate, from the birth of Bitcoin up to now. Will it be from now going forward? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But my attitude towards this market is not a short-term view. So where will the price be in 2 or 3 years' time, or even in 2 months' time? I'm looking at where is the market, what is the market doing, and what will the acceptance be in 2 or 3 years' time? We got 100 million users now, which is a tiny percentage of the world population. So will this grow to be 1 billion, 2 billion, 5 billion users? And if it does, what would it look like? What will the value look like of Bitcoin, of Cardano, or the other, or Chainlink, or all the other big projects that are in the top 10 now, for example? So, and this is kind of the questions that I answer myself when I am thinking about, investing in these projects in the long term. I don't care too much, to be honest with you, what Bitcoin does in 3 months from now or so on, because it's not really relevant for me. I am investing in this technology for the long term. I'm investing money that I don't need to live on. So even if it was to go down to close to zero, it wouldn't affect me. But I believe in what blockchain is doing for the world. I'm not just believing in what it's doing for my wallet. So I hope that answer your question, Stan. So I know that a lot of people come to Bitcoin because of money first as an investment asset. But I kind of I like to tell people, if you get involved in this arena, just don't follow the money. Just do it just study the background and what is being put in place that has an effect then on the price eventually. But if you look at the daily news in crypto, the one thing that is immediately obvious is all the pieces of all the little block pieces that are being put in place. So you say, okay, this bank now accepts crypto. This company will accept crypto as payments. And every day you hear 20, 30, 50 bits of this news. That means that, there are kind of a little bits of infrastructure that are being put into place so that people can then find it easy to use cryptocurrencies in their daily life. And this work goes on unabated, whether Bitcoin is 50,000 or whether it's 10,000 or 2,000. Okay, it doesn't really matter. The work goes on. The only difference it will make is that, you know, the higher the price of cryptocurrency, the more attractive it is from the point of view of people that want to work in the industry, because they get rewarded in crypto. So if a developer starts working as a particular project, generally a lot of the rewards will be in the coins of the project that they are working on. So, you know, the more valuable these cryptos are, the more attractive it is for somebody to say, yes, I'm going to work in you know, programming blockchain rather than programming in a different language, you know. So yeah, very, very interesting.
Okay. And talking about that, I mean, I suppose it's a kind of part of what you were talking about. Eric had a follow-up question about Ethereum and Cardano, and maybe you could expand onto other coins. Really, the question's about cryptos becoming a day-to-day currency to pay for things. So yeah, let's have your opinion on that. I know you've spoken quite a bit about it before, Luca, but things are always changing. So what about that area? Paying with cryptos for things, bottles of milk, pints of milk, and loaves of bread.
Well, this is what's happening already, and this is what the big change in, for example, in El Salvador. Okay, exactly what's happening. So that you can use crypto to pay for everything, even small payment. And there are, you know, the obstacle here is not so much the cryptocurrencies. They're already available now. So you can, you know, you could use, if you wanted to, Ethereum or Cardano to pay for your coffee. You know? Although Ethereum maybe not, because it's got high transaction fees, but Cardano you could. And the obstacle is the interface between, you know, the point of sale and the buyer. Okay, and this is something that is, you know, there are different companies that are working on it. One of the systems that is used is the Bitcoin Lightning Network, for example. And this is what is being used in El Salvador. But you will see now in the next 12 months, you will see a lot of companies that go into that space and they give the retailers the option to accept cryptocurrencies directly. Okay, either directly, you know, take a payment in, you know, in Bitcoin, in Ethereum, in Cardano, or having a exchange system so that, you know, the person can pay you with their wallet, with their Cardano in the wallet, and the retailer gets paid in, you know, US dollar, pounds, or whatever else. So it is, the functionality is there already. You could use Cardano, Ethereum, whatever other cryptocurrency it's on the market to pay for your day-to-day thing. It's kind of like a problem of interface. And the moment that we'll get to the point where you can go and to the retailer and use whatever you want to pay, and the retailer gets whatever they want as payment, then that would be then really the mass adoption of cryptocurrencies, and then we'll take in these obstacles to use away from it. But also the difference to consider is that there are some coins, they are mainly developed as a payment system, like Bitcoin, for example. And there are other coins that have got a utility attached to it. So Ethereum, yes, you can use Ethereum for payment, but the main function of holding Ethereum is that so you can use it to interact with this kind of a world computer. Okay, so there is a utility attached to the Ethereum coins that is not there with the Bitcoin, for example. and different, you need to investigate each different systems. Obviously, some systems are, especially the privacy coins, are mainly intended as payment, and some other systems that can do different things. So you can use them as payment, but can also support smart contracts, and they have a utility attached to it as well. Okay.
Wonderful. So Pierre, as Pierre's weekly question here every week, as are a lot of us, and appreciate that. Pierre's interested in what's going to happen to the banks if cryptos continue to grow and attract huge adoption. And his question's really about, will the banks continue to try to beat them, or will they end up joining them? You can see the question there, Luca, everybody else can. Will the banks end up joining the crypto party? Will they disappear, or will they find their own products to fill their coffers that we don't even know about yet?
Well, that's a huge question that we have, and generally, I'll say what cryptocurrency is doing in general, blockchain is it's wherever it's possible is eliminating the middleman. Okay, and if you think about it, in a lot of transactions, the middleman takes a huge chunk of value out of the transaction. You know, think about an insurance broker, for example, or think about a bank that's giving you a mortgage. Now, in the case of the insurance broker, you could go to the insurance directly and get, probably a similar price without paying the broker fee. So what are you paying that fee for? It generally is because of you were paying for their knowledge, for their expertise. Okay, but the moment that you can interact directly with the other party, there's no need of that. The same thing for a bank. A bank you deposit money in your bank account, and then the bank lends out that money to people that can use it, can put it to good use. Now, you may be, let's say, even in the best possible scenario at the moment, you get 1% for your money, and then you go into the, asking for a loan. Somebody else goes asking for a loan and gets charged 6%. Now, what happens to the other 5%? Obviously, it goes in the bank's coffers. Now, with this system, you can directly loan money from peer to peer, and that transaction value stays in the community. Okay, so it rewards people. They have funds to loan, and it makes it easier for people that want to borrow as well, because you can now be both the borrower and the bank, and it's very, very powerful when you think about it. If you have if you have savings, if you're a pensioner, for example, you have savings that at the moment that you put aside because thinking they give me some extra income in my retirement, because at the time when you started saving, the savings rate was maybe 4 or 5%. Now you find yourself, you got this chunk of money in the bank and gives you 0.1%. If you could then lend it out with the same security that a bank has when making a loan to a third party, and get paid maybe 4 or 5% as a reward, it empowers you to do a lot more. So it's huge. It's really what we're talking about, like economic freedom, really, from many different points of view, for people in the third world, but also people in the first world, like what we are, because we are very limited in what we can do by the legacy financial system that has been put in place, throughout centuries.
There's a great question from Dana, and it's a long question, so I'm starting to worry that I'm never going to get to be able to tell you about all the great advice I've had off Reddit. So Dana makes a very, very true point that we all know now, that in the early .com stages, many companies that were very big and relevant ended up fading away, probably because the service that they offered was replaced by a better, more efficient, cheaper one, maybe. That's not in the question, that's my opinion. With non-Bitcoin payments, but utility coins. So the utility coins that you've just been talking about, obviously some of these similarly may become obsolete as tech advancements grow. How do you see this playing out, Luca? And the situation, for example, where a faster, cheaper platform can replace Ethereum or something that replaces other coins. I think we know what Dana means here without me waffling any more about it. What correlations to that early .com bubble, if you like, where some of the real leaders phased out of the whole scene really, really quickly? Do you see that happening with some of these utility coins, and how do you see that playing out?
Okay, so first of all, let me just finish answering the question before, because I realized that I didn't talk about the banks. When I say, will the banks still survive, or will they disappear? And I was thinking a lot of banks will tend to disappear, simply because their whole function was into the kind of like intermediary state. So they would allow you, through their position, through their knowledge, to access other markets that now you can access directly. So there will be a consolidation in the banking sector, definitely. But also, from the other point of view, like we see now, two different approaches. Like there is like fight on all front approach, like HSBC, for example, is using. We're saying we're not dealing with crypto, whatever. We're stopping our customers to do anything at all, interacting. So telling us basically what we can do with that money. Okay, to the point where, as I said before, they're stopping people from buying MicroStrategy shares, which is a public company quoted on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, that they are deciding that they are not letting you buy from their brokerage because they invest in Bitcoin. And the other side of this is instead, when we're looking at the American banks, for example, they are fully over themselves to say, well, we'll let people buy cryptocurrencies through us and we'll store them safely for them. Okay, so I will see these two things playing out at the same time. Some banks fighting back and trying to operate, to use the nuclear approach. And other banks are saying, well, if I can beat them, join them. So as a result, I think there will be a consolidation in the banking sector, and the banks that are going to survive are the ones that will serve, still offer a service to people that are not confident enough to engage with the system directly, because obviously not everybody is confident about buying, selling cryptocurrency, storing them in their own wallet and so on. So there is that. For the other point of view of the Ethereum and the other cryptocurrencies, yes, I mean, there are over 8,000 cryptocurrencies at the moment. Not the vast majority of them will not survive the next 2 years. Easy to say. But at the same time, we need to think about the network effect. And this is kind of like it's a different question, because we don't know what's around the corner, and we haven't got to the point yet of seeing what's happened with the internet industry, for example. Where now, whatever device you got in your hands, and wherever you are in the world, whether you're in North Korea or Tanzania or wherever you are, you can use Wi-Fi, for example. Okay, because it's a common technology that is common to everybody. So it's a way that we can access the internet. At the moment, we don't have that kind of functionality in blockchain, because this is where there's a lot of complexity that will slowly as this technology is used by more and more people, then go away, in the sense that if you now have to write something for Ethereum, you have to use the Solidity programming language. If you use Cardano, you have to use Bluetooth, and so on. Each blockchain has got its own language, and it's been a bigger stumbling block is attracting developers to this arena, because the developer itself, when you think about it, just like learning a different language, okay, and the developer itself needs to make a bet, saying, well, I am going to learn this language because I believe in this project. And it's kind of like it takes a while to learn a new language. And so it's not attractive to a developer that may not know which, as you're saying, which protocol will survive in the next 2 years, to have to learn maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different languages to program things in Cardano, in Ethereum, in Bitcoin, and so in Solana, and so on. And each one has a different language. So what we're seeing now is a push towards interoperability, so that we can write one app that will immediately be working in different environments at the same time. So you don't have to, to both as a developer have to learn different languages, and even as a company, they want to deploy on the blockchain. It's very expensive to, even now, like you say, if you look at your phone, there are companies they want to launch an app, they launch it as either, on the iPhone first, or on the Google system first, because it takes time. It takes a team to develop the app for one language rather than another, and it's the same thing in the blockchain world. Okay, so it's simplifying these, the gateway. The way of interacting with the blockchain will make a big difference in attracting both users, but also people that want to work on the back end, and developing these new products. So I'm not Ethereum from that point of view has a huge network effect, because it's very large. It's got many different users, and he has an army of developers that can write programs in Solidity. So it has got a huge advantage over other blockchains. But some of the projects that you see there today will definitely disappear in a few years' time. So it's important when as an investor, if you support a particular project, it's important that you take a long-term view if you're looking at larger projects, or if you are invested in a small project, then take a small-term view and just invest of it for like a 12-month period, and be ready to exit as well, and that you might not be holding that asset for many years.
So, so a question from is it JJ? You know, it's a bit of a setup, mate. It's hard to read. I'm having a go.
Jonathan, sorry, I'm not logged in.
Jonathan Ajay. Yeah. Why don't I know your name? Oh, I read your name all the time. Yeah. Okay,
I'll read it.
I always do one a week. All right, let's try and read the question properly at least. Do you think El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin will be copied by other poorer countries, and central bank digital currencies will be pushed by the wealthy ones? I think I know what you mean now. That's a good question.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, the central bank digital currencies are not cryptocurrencies. They're just basically another version of the currencies that are in existence now. So and the thing from the point they are trying to use the blockchain technology as it will give them an extra layer of control. Because that, would you really want your government to know exactly what you spend down to the last penny? And this is what you got to ask yourself, because this is what China is trying to do. So they once things are on the blockchain, they are written, and everything is written immutably on the blockchain. So anybody can go in and see exactly what you have done with your money forever and ever. And I personally, although it's central banks are trying to launch this, and obviously it will get some news because they will pay they will pay benefits, they will pay their employees in these currencies. But that, I don't think this will stop the adoption of proper cryptocurrencies, because those are the ones that are making a difference to people's lives. And when you think about it, cryptocurrencies have got one of the biggest features is that they are, apart from being decentralized, they are rule-based. Now, if you could tell me now, do you know how many dollars, how many pounds will be printed next year, 2022, by the US government, by the British government? You can't tell me. The same for euros or any other currency in existence at the moment. It is not rule-based. There is somebody that makes that decision. Okay. And the big attraction of cryptocurrency is that we cannot understand, we cannot read the monetary policy of a particular currency, and we know that there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin, that they are being minted at the moment at an inflation rate of about just over 1%. And the same for which cryptocurrency that you are dealing with. They've got rules that determine how coins are entered into circulation. So it's a huge difference. Yes, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency, because already, just as we're talking about Cardano is in talks with El Salvador as well, by the way, so that they could then be used as well as a form of payment in El Salvador too. But yes, other countries will be definitely follow suit and copy what El Salvador has done. We already, as I said, we were discussing this before. I don't know if you came in later, Jonathan. We're already talking about the Paraguay. We'll discuss this in Parliament in July. And there are talks about politicians from Panama, Nicaragua, Guatemala, the small islands in the Caribbean, in Tanzania. They are talking about this already. So it's just a matter of time until we see other countries following through. And I say it will make a huge difference, because it will then allow, especially for countries that are really got a large population of unbanked citizens, will allow them to get access to the financial system, at a stroke of a pen. So it is really a huge deal for me, and something that makes me excited, because I can see, not from a personal point of view, but I can see what difference this can make to the world population in general, because I don't believe in in people have different opportunity based on the where they're born, or who their parents were, or what color is the skin, or whatever else, whatever other reason it could be for discriminating, and this would create a level playing field. Let's put it that way.
I'm still not going to have a game of cards with Luca, because from his face I can't tell when he's excited and when he's not. That's the good bit, though, isn't it, really? Tim, would you like to unmute yourself?
That's my test place, Duncan.
Absolutely. Tim's got a question. We're probably going to need to keep it snappy. We've got about 4 minutes left. I have got to go on to another call afterwards, so we're probably going to have to keep it tight this time.
Yeah, okay. Regarding Celsius, the exchange about investing either currency or other coins that aren't being staked elsewhere. We looked at that, and we saw some negative comments about it, particularly one that showed the rules, that showed the possibility that Celsius could effectively take your money, like a bail-in. Can you talk about that, Luca?
Yeah, guys, these are private companies, so obviously you have to decide when you want to interact with them. There's always a trade-off between losing access to your coins and receiving a reward. So it's the same thing if you use Binance, or you use Kraken, you use Coinbase. These are private companies. So potentially, what's the security when engaging with them? The security itself is in the volume. Like if they did something, yes, they could run away with something, then obviously their business will disappear. And it is an option to take insurance against some of your investments in that way. But there is always, when your cryptocurrencies are not in your wallet, there is always a risk involved in that. So and it's about you to make a decision on that trade-off. Do you take that risk in exchange for that reward or not? And you always have to do that when dealing with a private company.
Well, the reason that I was asking is because there's not just this overall risk that applies to all. They're actually specifying it in writing. So that's what I was asking about. I'm going to look into Nexo and BlockFi to see if they have the same rules or not.
Yes, I'll say I'm not going to go into details about private companies like this, but I will say every in crypto, having your money in any platform attracts some risks. So do your due diligence and understand those risks before you deposit your money.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Luca. We've got a late question in from Stan, and not singling you out, Stan. This is for everybody. Next week, can we try and get the questions in within a bit of time, because we want to give you really good answers, and we're a bit short on time. I know that if the question doesn't come up in your mind, you can't ask it before it does, so fair enough. 21 million Bitcoin. What about all the lost ones? We will never get to 21 million, and when, or is that being accounted for?
No, and this is part of the reason why Bitcoin is becoming more valuable as well, because there are coins that will not be it will not be possible to access. So 21 million would be the maximum number of coins that will be minted, but in reality there will be a maximum in circulation. It's a lot lower than that. So yeah, a good question. Could I ask somebody actually, just before we go, if I just share the screen, and I'll just ask you for a little plug actually. If let me just move this away. So this calls. I am running a free crypto investor club, a circle on GeniusU, where I'm also hosting these calls live. Could I ask, if you enjoy this hour, would you mind going onto the club and leaving me a review? So the way you do it here is just by clicking on reviews. I know some of you already have done. And then here on the right-hand side, you can put your rating and write down a small review here, and then click submit. I'll be very grateful. I'll be very grateful if you could get my numbers up a little bit. Okay, by putting a review. Whatever you think. If you find it valuable, then write. If you don't find it valuable, then keep it to yourself.
Yeah, we accept these reviews graciously, but we only really graciously accept 5-star reviews. The rest just pisses off, frankly. but no, I mean, I'm sure Luca's like me. I mean, there is an incentive to leaving reviews, and that's that we give you one back. So you know, we're all going to end up battling each other at the top one day, I suppose, if we carry on like that. But what could be better? Well, we're nearly run out of time. I promise you, I'm going to tell you all about all the great stuff I find out about on Reddit next week or the week after. Who knows? There is one more thing I'd like to add. It's absolutely nothing to do with Luca, and I don't want to upset him, but at the end of all these calls, I do a heavy Luca plug. We all know where we can find Luca's community. We've joined it now. We know about Crypto Hour. We know about Luca's wonderful products. So if I may just take 5 seconds of your time, I would really like to tell you about another fantastic partner event that I've now planned. This is going to be every fortnight, and it's with a new partner of ours called Del Lewis. If you look for my posts, I'll be emailing you. I'll give you loads of information about Del. He's hugely experienced. There's nothing he hasn't done. He's been in all sorts of different businesses. He's been really, really successful. He's also a lieutenant ex-lieutenant of the US Navy. Very, very interesting guy. And this is going to be something like our chat show, if you like. He's going to tell us some stories and keep us entertained. And then he's going to take loads of questions on all sorts of business subjects. It's on the 30th of June. It's at 9 p.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Singapore time. So that's my little plug for the week. You're more than welcome to join us there.
And if I can, if I can put my word in, I've had the pleasure of talking to Dan in our Crystal Circle calls as well. It's a really lovely chat. So I recommend this hour highly. So I'll try to be there as well.
Thanks, Luca. Thanks. So there we go. Another successful crypto hour. If there's nothing anymore, anything Luca would like to add at the end, he'll have the last moments. And that's all from me. Thank you for joining me. And Luca, see you next week. Of course, anything from you, Luca?
Okay. The only thing I wanted to mention is Duncan, what we are organizing for the festival. So. Yes. So we'll be doing for those of you. I mean, obviously, if you come onto this room, you're already engaged with cryptos. But I will be doing a free masterclass just before the education festival starts on the 6th of July. So you are welcome to join me once we finish creating it. We will post a link. And if any of you, I'll be also a sponsor of the festival. If any of you are thinking of going and don't have a ticket and want to purchase one, I'll be as you looking at this, watching this crypto hour, I can give you a discounted price on your access. So just send me a message. Let me just put if anybody wants to contact me, let me just put my email address to everyone. You can contact me here, and we can take it offline. Oh, there you are. So on this masterclass, I will be talking about. Sorry, Duncan, I will let you go. It's going to be an education, couple of hours, talking all about blockchain, Bitcoin, and all the cryptocurrencies, putting it into context of of my economic macro experience. As you might know, I studied economics, so it will be give. For those of you, for those people that are new to cryptocurrency, it will really give them a good idea on what it is and what it does and why it is important to get engaged with it, right? All right, Duncan. So we can release you for your meeting.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it, I can tell you. So that's the high point of the week, my week over, and I can't wait till next week. Lovely to see you all, guys. Thanks for everything, and of course, thanks very much to Luca. See you all.
Fantastic. Thank you all for coming.